Hey everyone, and welcome as we continue our study through the New Testament Gospel, looking at the 250 events in the life of Jesus. And today we are looking at Judas hanging himself. And this comes from Matthew 27, verses 3 through 10. And if you've been following along as we've gone through this study, we're doing this chronologically, looking basically blending all four of the gospel letters to together and put them in chronological order and studying it that way. So we see it as it happened, and it helps us get a better view and a better idea of everything as they played out. And so this is the part right before Jesus' crucifixion where Judas hangs himself. And so this is Matthew 27, verses 3 through 10. It says, When Judas, who had betrayed him, realized that Jesus had been condemned to die, he was filled with remorse, so he took the 30 pieces of silver back to the leading priests and the elders. I have sinned, he declared, for I have betrayed an innocent man. What do we care? They retorted. That's your problem. Then Judas threw the silver coins down in the temple and went out and hanged himself. The leading priest picked up the coins. It wouldn't be right to put this money in the temple treasury, they said, since it was payment for murder. After some discussion, they finally decided to buy the potter's field, and they made it into a cemetery for foreigners. That is why this field is still called the field of blood. This fulfills the prophecy of Jeremiah that says, Then they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price at which it was valued by the people of Israel, and purchased the potter's field as the Lord directed. And so, what we see here, right? Judas, I'm sorry, the former accuser, he wanted to drop the charges. He realized what he had done and he wanted to talk, but the religious leaders refused. They refused. They weren't going to stop now. They weren't going to halt this trial. And so, again, we kind of talked about this a little bit when he betrayed Jesus. Perhaps there's some theory that he was trying to force Jesus' hand, excuse me, to get him to lead a revolt against Rome. I mean, because a lot of people really thought that that's what he was going to be doing, and of course, this didn't work because it wasn't part of Jesus' plan. It wasn't who he was, and so whatever Judas's reasoning behind this, and again, I'm not saying this to make Judas look a little bit better or anything like that. What Judas did was wrong. Right? He betrayed his best friend. He betrayed Jesus, the Lord, and he turned him over. And but it was prophesied it was going to happen. But why he did it, and I guess in the end doesn't really matter. The fact is that he did, and but I try not to come down too hard on Judas because we'll try to Judas was just this evil person. And he was bad and he was wicked and he was greedy and he was all. And you know what? We're every one of those things too. I mean, how many times have we betrayed Jesus? How many times have we betrayed our friends and stuff like that? I mean, I've had it happen to me. I'm sure I've done it, maybe not on purpose, but, and that kind of stuff. But we've all done this type of stuff. So we need to make sure that we don't come too hard down on Judas. Now, the one thing we do need to learn from Judas is not to react the way he did. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But whatever his reason, right? He changed his mind, but it was too late. And we got to remember that because many of the plans we set in motion, sometimes they can't be reversed. So we have to be careful with the actions, be careful with the things that we do. It's best to think of the potential consequences before, right, we launch into an action we may later regret. We've got to be very careful with how we do that. And so he's speaking to the priest and telling him, hey, I was wrong, this man's innocent. And it was the priest's job, right, to teach people about God and act as intercessors for them, similar to what we see with preachers and pastors today, and helping administer the sacrifices to cover sins. Now, we don't do this, but I mean, similar type of role. Judas, he returns to the priest here and he says, hey, I've sinned, I've messed up, I lied, this guy's innocent. And rather than helping him find forgiveness, the priest was like, that's your problem, not ours. We don't care. You're the one that messed up, not us. And so not only had they rejected the Messiah here, they rejected their role as priests, what they were supposed to be doing. This is how far they had fallen. They weren't even going and doing and following what they were supposed to be doing as priests. And so we see this here. And it's just really messed up how they did. But that's, they were willing to murder someone. They knew it was for murder. We see that, it's like, hey, we can't put this money in the treasury because it paid for a murder. And so we see just that's the type of people that they were. So according to Matthew, Judas hanged himself. But if you read in Acts 1:18, it says that he fell and burst open. And so a lot of people will be like, oh, well, this is a contradiction in the Bible. It doesn't, more than likely, the best explanation is here that he probably hung himself and he was there for a while. And then once he, the whole process, either the limb broke or whatever happened, right? It let loose, and then when he hit the ground, he burst open when he hit the ground. That's more than likely what happened. Again, it's not a contradiction. It's just Matthew says he hung himself, and Acts, Luke goes into a little more detail what happened after he hung himself. And so again, if people try to use this kind of stuff, say, "Oh, look, the Bible contradicts itself," it's not. It's not a contradiction. It's just a further explanation or a more detailed explanation of what happened. And so then it talked about the prophecy of the field and stuff, and those can be found if you want to look them up. Zechariah 11 verses 12 and 13. And maybe perhaps we can look at Jeremiah 18 1 through 4, 19 1 through 11, and 32 6 through 15. There's some verses that you can read in there. And so um, we need to look at this. And says in ancient times, Jeremiah was considered the collector of some of the prophets' writings. So perhaps his name is cited rather than Zacharias there. So again, it's not a error. It's not a thing. It's just we have to understand the context of how things happen. Jeremiah collected writings, and so more of the prophets, and so there's a very good reason why they would say Jeremiah prophesied this. He was collecting of what someone had written, and so that's what we see there. So again, the main thing I want you to get away from this more than anything, right? Judas messed up. We all mess up. We all mess up big time. All right, there's no doubt about that. We all mess up big time. We all make huge mistakes. But the main thing is, and we're going to learn this from Peter, right? We can respond like Judas, and go out and destroy yourself because you messed up, or you can just dive deeper into whatever you're messed up in, or you can look for Jesus for forgiveness, right? Judas chose to go out and hang himself because he didn't think that he could be forgiven. Peter, right, although he denied Jesus, which we looked at a couple of days ago, although he denied Jesus, he's still stuck with Jesus. And then later on we see Jesus forgive him. We're going to look at that. It's a very moving, a very wonderful piece. And so we'll look at that. But that's the thing that I want you to take. We don't have to, we're going to behave like Judas sometimes. We're human. We're going to mess up. But the thing we have to remember is we have a Savior we can go back to always and seek forgiveness and get forgiveness for that. And we need to make sure we remember that. As always, I appreciate everyone for watching and following along as long as you have. I really do appreciate that. I think we're in like we're day 231, so we're getting closer and closer to the end. Like I said, this is going to go a little bit further than 250 days just because some of these we had to split into more than two, but again, more than one. I really appreciate you following along. As always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. You get the notifications anytime we put anything new out. Helps us out, helps us get our message and word out, so I really appreciate that. And as always, I appreciate everyone for watching.